Let me first of all start by saying thank you to Ken and all the members and officers of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association for having this forum tonight. Obviously, you all are one of the most well-known and well-respected neighborhood organizations across the city of Shreveport. What you all do here is very similar to what led me to the path of now standing here before you today as mayor of the city of Shreveport, and that's addressing the issues and challenges that exist and face you where you live. And that's what I've endeavored to do over the last 4 years as mayor of the city of Shreveport, is to make Shreveport a better place based upon improving the quality of life within our neighborhoods. We talk about our downtown, and obviously we've got issues and challenges there. We talk about our riverfront. We talk about all of those other things. But the truth of the matter is, what do you do in order to make the place where people live better? Why? Because when people find themselves in the neighborhoods of the city of Shreveport, and they decide it's a place that they no longer want to be, whether it's in Broadmoor or Cooper Road or Cedar Grove or Southern Trace or any other place across this city, they decide to leave. And one of the challenges that you have as mayor is trying to make the city of Shreveport a place where the people who are here are more desirous of staying. We've made our neighborhoods better. We've made our neighborhoods safer. Right now, today, as I stand before you as mayor of the city of Shreveport, we have 43 more police officers than we started off with 4 years ago. We have 12 more firefighters than we started off 12 years ago. We have an operation within the police department as well as property standards that goes out every day looking to make the quality of our city better. Now, our city finances. 4 years ago, you heard about $1 billion in debt. We knew it was a challenge. We ended up following it up with one of the worst recessions ever. But in 4 years, we've managed to be able to bring the city of Shreveport's budget down and within budget all 4 years. We've tripled the city's fund reserve over the last 2.5 years. We've managed to be able to do more with less. My mayoral and chief administrative office staff are the smallest since Lou Burnett worked for the mayor of the city of Shreveport. There were 18 when he was there. There were 15 under Mayor Hightower. There are 12 funded positions in my administration, and 2 of those are actually vacant. We've managed to be able to give us right now one of the lowest debt totals that we've had since 1997. We've managed to be able to uphold and reaffirm the city's A+ bond rating with Standard & Poor's, and we're poised to go back before those rating agencies and compete for an upgrade. Crime throughout the neighborhoods of this city right now are at a 34-year low. Have we solved it completely? No, we haven't. But the truth of the matter is that things are moving in a positive direction. You've got proven, experienced leadership at the helm, leadership that has the proven ability to be able to represent every aspect and corner of the city of Shreveport. North, south, east, west, black, white, rich, and poor. We're moving towards making Shreveport a better place. I'm asking for your continued support and vote as your mayor. And I thank you for having us here to you this evening to be able to discuss the issues that face the future of the city. Thank you much, and God bless.
Good evening. I want to thank the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association for the opportunity to come and speak tonight. Over the last 4 years and throughout this campaign, the one cry of every single citizen has been effective and efficient leadership. They're looking for someone who's going to lead them in a very prosperous and progressive direction. I've been in the trenches for the last 4 years, and I've seen the operation of this city. I see how it operates. I see what we can do to make things better. Back in 2008, I fought for a police pay raise. Why? Because our police officers are getting paid $15,000 less than the national average and $10,000 less than the southern average. And we're losing experienced and knowledgeable officers every month to other agencies who can pay more money. It was a business decision, and we had the ability to do it with money already in the police budget. But Mr. Glover decided to veto it. He said the money was not there, but the money was there in their budget. It's in their budget every year. But at the same breath, he took Obama's stimulus money and used that to hire police officers at a tune of $4 million. And when I asked the mayor, do you have a plan to supplement that when the money runs out? His quote was, no, but that's a good problem for a city to have. Well, I question that logic, because now we're $4 million in the hole. I fought for Fire Station 22 to be open in the southernmost part of my district in the city. Why? Because you as a taxpayer paid for that fire station to be open, to service that area adequately. And the big picture effect, when Dr. Baber's house caught on fire, almost burning to the ground, costing him over $400,000 worth of damage, because we could not get there on time, and that's why we built the station in the first place, was to get out there to that region. Not only did it affect services immediately in this area, but we pulled a fire station off of Pines Road. Therefore, something would have happened in the western part of our area. Resources would have to scramble to meet that need. That's the bigger picture. That's the logical way to look at it and to see why it was a necessity to open it. Because you paid for it. It's a quality service that we need to provide. I fought for it. The station is open today. That's the type of leadership people are looking for. We hear a lot about fiscal responsibility. I have been a fiscal watchdog watching every dime in this city. Do you know that Mr. Glover allowed a consultant group to do a project at the airport at the tune of $900,000, and they never finished the job? The airport authority received communication from the FAA telling them to kill the contract because they saw the deficiency in the operation. The airport authority tries to contact Mr. Glover for 3 months. Now this is coming straight from airport authority members. 3 months. Never got a phone call, and the woman siphoned all the money, or the consulting firm siphoned all the money, and now you lost $900,000. Then we had the parking fiasco costing us $700,000 that the leadership at the airport knew about, but did nothing about. And whether you like the approach or not, when Chairwoman Bowman fired Roy Miller, it was a good business decision, because in our business, if you would have stolen $7, you would have been fired. So when $700,000 comes about and gets lost or gets missing and no one is held accountable, but you rehire the person that caused the problem, there's a disengagement between the mayor's office and the rest of the city. I have actively and aggressively represented my district effectively and will continue to do so to represent the city like it should be. Thank you.
We'll start the answers with Brian Wood. Will you be dedicated to continue property standards enforcement? Are you in favor of an environmental court?
Yes, we will continue our efforts with property standards. I have learned, working with some of the property standards officials, there are some ways we can improve what we're doing, so definitely want to make sure we do that. Yes, I would be in favor of an environmental court, because I think it would speed up the process and making or holding people accountable as far as their violations. The biggest challenge to that does take some legislative work, which as mayor I'll work toward to make sure that is done. And number two, also takes funding, which is something we need to plan out and make sure that we're not wasting your money and it is a real plan that can be implemented. But I am in favor of it, yes.
Cedric Glover.
Well, certainly we will carry on the great work that we started with Operation Take Back Your Neighborhoods. The fact that we can sit here today and talk about carrying that effort on is a tribute to the fact that we have offered leadership over the last 4 years that said that we needed to not just increase, but actually quadruple the number of property standards officers for the city of Shreveport. We ended up pairing those individuals up with a quadruple number of community liaison officers as well. So when you went out into some of these neighborhoods where you had real challenges when it comes to property standards, you had not just a property standards officer, but you also had a police officer there working with them as well. And so they did not just work on an isolated problem, they worked on the entirety of the problem. We also have said that we want to have a comprehensive standard and an expectation all across the city of Shreveport when it comes to our neighborhoods. And that is, if there are things that you would not do in Broadmoor or South Highlands or Southern Trace, then don't do them in Queensboro, Cedar Grove, and Cooper Road. That way we can have an expectation of an increased quality of life, an increased level of cleanliness, and an increased quality of our neighborhoods all across the city of Shreveport. We are actually in the process of seeing that come to fruition. Parking in your across your grass, having open air mechanic shops in your front yard. All those things that lead to the deterioration of the quality of life. When it comes to the environmental court, it's a part of the master plan that I, as mayor, push forward. That's now going forward. It's one of those recommendations. It's one of those things that we'd like to see happen. We're in the process of working with folks in this audience today to help actually make it happen.
Okay, next question. Neither of you are from this area. Do you know our needs and concerns? In other words, what can you do for us? And we'll start with Cedric Glover.
Well, I'm not sure who that question came from, but you obviously are not very aware and knowledgeable of my history. I'm a country boy from the Cooper Road, born, bred and raised, the last son of the late Clarence E. Glover and Elizabeth Bradford Glover. My father is from Memphis, Tennessee. He came here via the Air Force. He was a radio operator on a B-29 during the Korean War. He met my mother, who was from Dixie, Louisiana. After his service was over, they took the GI Bill, went to Grambling, and moved to the Cooper Road in 1959. I was 15 years old before I went anywhere further away from Shreveport than Memphis, Tennessee, which is my dad's hometown. And so at the age of 23 years old, part of the reason as to why I stand before you today as mayor, that I became the president of the MLK Neighborhood Association for the very same reason that Ken Kraft leads this group and you all are members, because I was concerned and worried about the issues that face my neighborhood and that face my city and wanted to be a part of helping to make it better. So I can't speak for Brian, but my roots are here in Shreveport, in Northwest Louisiana. This is where my heart is, this is where my wife is, this is where my family is, and this is why I'm committed to being. And so hopefully that answers that question.
Ron Woolley.
I'm not sure if your question meant Shreveport or specifically to Broadmoor, but I'll answer both. Born and raised here in Shreveport, went to high school here, graduated from Magna High in 91, went to college here, did move to South Louisiana for a time for some sales and marketing opportunities. Actually was a youth minister in South Louisiana for 4 years, working with junior high, high school, college age, young married couples. Had an opportunity to move back to Shreveport. I'm one of those who returned home because I truly love Shreveport and wanted to see my generation return here and invest our lives here. Got in business with my brother. He owns about 4 companies here in Shreveport. Helped him build those companies over the years. My background is sales and marketing, also customer relations, which I think has been very vital to me as a city councilman, but also more specific toward Broadmoor. And I think that may be a way the question is actually geared, because I represent District D. This is technically not my district as a councilman. Do I know some of the needs? I know some of the needs here, because I think they are citywide. Specifically to Broadmoor, I have talked to a few residents who live here, and they have shared those specific needs with me. But the way to handle that is to have a mayor and a mayor's office who's accessible, that returns phone calls, returns emails, and who will be there for you. So when you have those needs, we will make sure we respond in a very professional manner, in a timely manner, to take care of the needs you may have. Thank you.
We'll go to Brian Woolley on this one. It's kind of a long question. Good government is protected by a zero tolerance for public corruption and requires transparency and compliance with Louisiana's open meetings laws. If you are elected to serve as the mayor of Shreveport on November 2nd, will you demand the immediate resignation, dismissal, and/or firing of anyone serving either in an elected or appointed position in any city department and/or mayoral appointment-related board that has demonstrated any history of clearly and willfully violating the Louisiana open meetings laws? If not, then why not?
The simple answer is we will not tolerate corruption. And we will not tolerate someone violating the law, period.
Senator Glover?
I think the question focuses on open meetings laws as well as corruption as well. Obviously, when it comes to open meeting laws, we will absolutely comply. We do comply. We try and go above and beyond because we believe that one of the things that is tantamount to good government is having the ability for people to be able to access that government. They got to know what you're doing, where you're doing it, and why you're doing it. Now, when it comes to corruption, one of the reasons as to why I'm standing here before you today, probably in this runoff, is because I've been one of those folks who stood up against corruption. And there are folks who are not happy with that. There are folks who want to see a return to the Shreveport that existed before I became mayor of the city of Shreveport. I haven't let it happen. I won't let it happen. I stand before you today to tell you that we will continue to run Shreveport in a way that is above board, that is clear, and that is absolutely transparent. What you have seen over the years are the good old boys who want to have a chance to be able to control things like the airport. Folks who, right now, tell Brian things that have no basis in truth and fact in an effort to try and keep that same old rodeo going. Folks who have been on the airport authority for a decade or more, simply perpetuating the same status quo that's not getting us anywhere. We've managed to shut the door to that over the last 4 years. There are a lot of folks who don't like it, and so they're going to try and do and are doing everything that they can. They were with another candidate. They've now signed up with Brian. We're going to continue to stand up against them.
Okay, this goes to Cedric Glover. In regards to crime, what will you do differently to drive down crime in each individual district?
Excellent question. Well, here's the reality of it. Crime statistics right now in the city of Shreveport are as low as they have been since 1976, long time ago, 34-year low. Now, what does that mean, 34-year low? What does that mean? Well, if you're a victim of crime, it doesn't mean a whole lot to you. But when you look at the totality of the crime situation across Shreveport, because of the actual crime-fighting techniques that we have put in place, things are getting better. It's a part of how we go about helping to make the quality of life in our neighborhoods safer. It's how we go about collectively making the city of Shreveport safer. We've instituted broken windows concept of policing. We've instituted the area system of management for our police department, which means that we have a captain in charge of one of the 4 quadrants of the city of Shreveport 24 hours a day. We put a larger focus on quality of life crimes as well as preventing crime so that we end up breaking that cycle before we end up with the larger and major crimes. Now, you would have my opponent come up and tell you that we are cooking the books. Based on that allegation, we went and asked the FBI how many sitting mayors you know will invite the FBI to come to a city. That's what we did, to ask them to audit our crime statistics. They found out that our error rate was way less than 1%. And so the numbers are accurate, the accomplishments are clear, the men and women of the Shreveport Police Department are making a profound difference, and they'll continue to make a difference on into the future.
Brian Woolley.
What needs to take place is a redistribution of the manpower. Once again, you have to have a mayor who's engaged in his different departments. I've taken the personal time to meet with many officers who are actually out in the streets every day and every night. And they say, Councilman, we know what they are telling you. We've seen the stat sheets ourselves, but we're the guys out there working the beat. There's not enough media to keep up with the problems that we're facing on a daily and nightly basis. I'll give you an example. There are parts of my district that never see a police officer. And you say, well, there's no crime there. Well, criminals are pretty smart, and they're going to figure that out. So you concentrate one area real hard and let them on another area, they're just going to move themselves. That's what the criminal element does. I mean, there's teams of them. And so we see a perfect example of that last week at the Red River Bank out in Southern Loop, where 2 men went in, held it up, shots were fired. My understanding is they roughed up the women a little bit and then took their vehicle. Because they understood that there's no police presence on a regular basis in the area. There needs to be a redistribution of the manpower. Yes, it is true, we do have more officers now than we've ever had, but I still need more of them on the street and less of them behind the desk. And don't forget, the one reason why we have more officers on the street than we've ever had before is because we took stimulus money of $4 million, but there was no plan with Mr. Glover to take care of that when the money runs out. Thank you.
Next question for Brian Woolley. We have 2 or 3 questions relating to this. We're going to get into a little tougher questions now. I think both candidates know this audience is pretty well informed, and they do ask the tough questions. Couple of questions, and I'll see if I can combine them. What is this TV commercial referring to concerning the Shreveport Airport about some woman hired to perform work at the airport and the sum of $700,000? The other one says a nearly $1 million contract, and why was she paid even though the work was never completed?
As it relates to the commercial, obviously our campaign is the one to put it out there because we believe it is important to educate the public on things that have taken place. It's interesting that Mr. Glover talks about corruption, where we believe this is a perfect example of corruption, where you have a consulting firm that went out and did the work. And obviously, we have named Ms. Lillian Priest. We also mentioned Mr. Sherwood Bailey on the website, truthaboutglover.com. So I think it's important you understand what has taken place. They did a noise abatement or Part 150 program out at the airport, were hired to do the job. Less than 3% of the work was completed. They were supposed to assess or consult, I believe, 243 houses, and only 7 houses were actually done. But yet they were paid in full. And once again, I spoke with the airport authority member tonight to double check on everything we've said, and he says you're absolutely correct. The FAA did call the airport and the airport authority and told them to kill the contract because they were not doing the work. They said they tried for 3 months to contact Mr. Glover in his office. To no avail did they get a meeting with him. Reverend Joe Gant, who was the chairman of the airport authority at the time, was pursuing Mr. Glover to get him to have that meeting to say we need to kill his contract. In the meanwhile, all the money is taken. They've now been paid in full, and you as a taxpayer have lost your money. When it comes to $700,000, as we also know as the parking fiasco, Mr. Roy Miller knew what was going on. There were airport authority members who said they did not know it was all going on as it was happening. They found out as the ball began to roll, and it rolled too far, they couldn't keep up. That's $1.7 million of your money that's now going.
Senator Glover.
Now, over the next 2 weeks, you're going to hear all sorts of things. You're probably going to find out that I even know where Charles Lindbergh's poor baby is. And I can tell you who the guy was standing on the grassy knoll. Brian Willett has been a council member for 4 years. The matter that he's referring to is something that has taken place several years ago. These are all the types of last-minute desperation tactics that you pull out, that you resort to when you do not have the truth on your side. And that's what we're in the midst of right now. The truth of the matter is that as the mayor, you get the opportunity to be able to select from 3 qualified vendors that are submitted to you by the Architect and Engineering Selection Committee, or a combination of the Architect and Engineering Selection Committee as well as the Shreveport Airport Authority. We picked a firm that happened to be made up of a group of qualified local citizens. The work on that contract was managed and overseen by the Airport Authority, the very individuals who right now are all surrounded around Brian Willett because they know that I have said that we need to change things at the Shreveport Airport, and they don't want to see them change. Brian doesn't believe that there's a problem. He will tell you that we have high airfares simply because of market conditions, not that there's anything else that we need to do about it. He wants to perpetuate the status quo at the Shreveport Airport Authority. He knows, and they know that I want to change it, and so now they're resorting to these types of tactics.
Okay, we go. Oh. Yeah, he did answer that. Okay. You mentioned the airport. We have a few questions about the airport, and I'll try to combine them. This one is addressed to the mayor. Your opponent has accused one of your appointees of gross malfeasance in managing the regional airport. How do you respond to such charges? And the other one is that will you make bringing a low-cost carrier to Shreveport Regional Airport a priority? What strategies will you employ to better market our airport for these carriers?
Well, unlike Brian, I didn't decide to just simply say that the same old excuses that we were hearing from the airport were acceptable. I came to the decision that we needed to see change and to see change come in a wholesale fashion. We tried to work with, compromise, support some members of the airport authority. Things did not get better. When it comes to Mr. Miller, I reappointed Mr. Miller based on the fact that you do not dismiss or fire an individual based on that way. The mayor leaves town. When he's gone, the chairman steps in and fires the airport director. They could end up doing that with practically anyone else within city government. I felt that that was not the proper and appropriate way to handle and deal with that situation. In an effort to make the situation at the airport better, tried to appoint new members of the authority. Brian blocked that. What did we do? We impaneled a blue ribbon organization, or group of individuals rather, from organizations and governments from all across this region to come together and work as a task force. They have been working for the past several months, coming up with outstanding suggestions and recommendations on how to make our airport, one, operate more efficiently so we get maximum value of the dollars that we invest out there. And then number 2, introduce the element into our airport that we need, and that's competition. And that is coming up with an effective strategy of how we introduce that competition into the Shreveport Airport. What does that mean? It means a low-cost carrier that gives us the opportunity to save the legacy, that we want you to lower your fares because we now have other options. If we can manage to do that, we'll have a high quality of service with lower prices at the Shreveport Airport.
Brian Woolley.
First of all, the key to a successful airport is once again having a mayor who's engaged with the airport authority. Once again, from several airport authority members, they said the mayor never attended an airport authority meeting. Now, with all due respect to the office of the mayor, I realize that not one person could be everywhere all the time. So there was representation that I do believe went from time to time. But at some point, where is the dialogue between the mayor and the people that is out there at the airport? That's key, and that's important. And yes, we did block some of those appointments this year because it was a political move to get rid of people who apparently have been trying to reach out to the mayor on several occasions, and he couldn't return their phone calls. And they were trying to stop him from spilling out over $900,000 for a contract that he allowed. That's mismanagement of your tax dollars. Now, when it comes to low-cost airfare, if the mayor would take the time to engage the airport authority, there would be no need for an airport task force. Your airport authority is your task force. Take the time to engage them, to ask them the questions. I took two of them to coffee separately, so I had to make sure I had maybe a different opinion. What's going on out there? What are the challenges that we're facing? What can local government do now, and what maybe are some possible plans for the future? And they simply spelled it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. They laid it out. Some things can be done now. Some things can be done at a later date. But the point is, communicate, put together a plan, and execute.
We can either stay with a minute and a half and ask about half of the remaining questions, or we can get to just about all if we can, on the fly, go to 1 minute replies. Is that okay? We've gotten the tougher ones out of the way that take the longer answers. So 1 minute from now on, it's still going to be a 15 seconds. But that way I think we can get most of them in.
Yes. Okay. Then this could be real quick because it's kind of a follow-up on the airport situation. And it's Brian. Did you know the downtown airport, not the regional airport, is the largest general aviation airport in the state? What is your vision for the downtown airport as it relates to economic growth and airport facilities and tourism?
Sure. First, to the first part, no, I did not know that. But in order to enhance the downtown airport, once again, it is taking the time as the mayor to engage people who actually have vested interest in the downtown airport, whether it be an airport director, airport authority members, and those who have hangars out there. I ran into one gym the other day, private businessman. He said, I got a great idea, would love to share it with the administration. I can't get a return phone call, but hey, if you get in there, or when you get in there, love to sit down with you. It's taking the time to talk to people who have the money to invest in the projects. We can't always look at public funds, but what about private funds to enhance what we're doing? I spoke to an airport authority member who has an idea. Once again, no return phone call, but he says, if you get in, let's have that dialogue. We'd love to sit down and make this more efficient, more effective, and basically more prosperous for Shreveport. Senator Glover?
I think there's a great deal of potential at the downtown airport. I think that potential will become even greater with the completion of I-49 into the northern side of town. The possibility of being able to use it as a place to be able to ship in various products is something I think that's worthwhile exploring. But the one thing I think we also need to stress here is that we all have sat and dealt with the frustration of our airport for years. And we've heard the excuses that, bottom line, we can't do any better because of where we are. And the folks who have made those excuses are the airport authority members who have been, each of them, on the airport authority, with the exception of the one appointee I've made as mayor. The other four who have all been there over a decade, 10 years. Those folks, if they had ideas, if they had solutions, if they had ways to bring in a low-cost carrier to make the situation better, even as one of the consultants came in, just to make it cleaner, they would have come up with those ideas long ago. This is not an act, folks. This is serious business. This is about the future of the city of Shreveport. And we're offering you serious answers to serious questions.
Okay, Mayor. We've got a couple of questions here that get kind of personal, but someone asked them, and I think if you're going to run, you're going to be on a hot seat. So,
absolutely.
This is for the mayor. Why did you recently change your finance report and remove names of convicted felons from it?
Good question. And thanks for the opportunity to be able to answer that question. What you have to do in the final days of a campaign is that you have to file what are known as 48-hour reports, which means that if you get a contribution in for $500 or more, you have to file that report almost immediately. We sent in 4 names for those 4 contributions of $2,500 apiece. They were confused with the 4 names of 4 individuals who were also going to be election day workers in our campaign. We realized that mistake immediately as soon as it was made, but it was done electronically. There was no way to withdraw it. Neither could you amend it until the following Monday. That Monday, the 4th of October, before any of this other started, that report was amended, sent in to reflect the accurate and correct information. Story told and ended.
Okay, and we have one here for Brian. Mr. Woolley, it has been mentioned that you failed to pay on a promissory note of $95,775 balance. How will you be able to effectively run the city when your personal business is not in order?
Repeat the beginning of that question again.
It says, it has been mentioned that you failed to pay on a promissory note of $95,775. How will you be able to effectively run the city when your personal business is not in order?
Apparently that person has to be confused with somebody else, because that is absolutely false.
Okay. Okay, here's another one. We've got some tough questioners in this audience tonight. I'm not sure exactly what, but it looks like in lieu of the fact that it's Domestic Violence Month, have either of you ever had a restraining order placed on you?
I'll go first, and the answer is yes. I was married once to a very beautiful woman, was madly in love with her, but as some marriages happen, we fell apart. And we have 2 beautiful children together. We have a very healthy relationship. I speak to her on a regular basis, and we have a very cordial relationship for the benefit of our children. And so at this point, we enjoy a good relationship for our kids. It's that simple.
Senator Bobbitt?
Well, I've been married once. It'll be 7 years to this December. When I go home tonight, I'll be in bed with my wife. And I'm proud to say that in all of my 44 years, I have never been the subject of restraining order of any sort. I've never been arrested. I've had a few speeding tickets, which I have to admit. But since I've been married, no parking tickets, thankfully. But no, I've not had any sort of orders of any sort. But then I'd like to be able to say that I believe that divorce for those folks who have gone through it is a very personal and messy thing. And that lots of things happen within the context of that that probably should not be a part of this public discourse. But I realize for what we are here today to do, then it probably will be. But I recognize that things go back and forth and are said back and forth that may not ultimately end up being a true reflection of the character of the individuals involved.
I'm going to combine a couple of these, Ken. Probably about 4, 5, 6. I'm going to combine these 2. They're related. I'm very concerned about the dirty trash, how dirty and trashy the city is along the state entrance and exit ramps. I've seen trash and debris there for weeks. How can we correct this problem? And the other part of it is I'm concerned about the increased litter throughout our city and the lack of cleaning of the streets. Please address these issues.
Let me start.
Secretary.
First, with the interstates, I think one of the reasons as to why the interchanges now look dirtier to you than the actual interstate does is that over the last 4 years, we've managed to institute a street sweeping program for our interstate corridors with the support of the State Department of Transportation. And so now on a monthly basis, the Sweeping Corporation of America comes in and all of the walled areas along 49 and I-20 are now swept. Unfortunately, they don't go down into the actual interchanges. And also the city of Shreveport, based upon the action of the previous administration, and it's something that actually we are researching right now, the possibility of bringing back. We used to have an actual force of 10 street sweepers that swept those interchanges as well as the neighborhood streets across the city of Shreveport. We now have none. So if we want to end up with a cleaner city in terms of appearances, then we're going to have to go back to at least some form of street sweeping being done by the city of Shreveport itself.
Brian Woolley?
I believe what needs to take place to be more effective in our cleaning of our city is, once again, a redistribution of the manpower that we have. Also, having a partnership with private groups, business groups, civic groups, neighborhood associations who are looking to partner with the city to help us. There are many groups who want to help out, and I know the Bible says you have not because you ask not. So I simply believe that as the mayor, you take the time to engage people and say, hey, what are you willing to do? Maybe we work in your neighborhood to take care of this median or that intersection. And then let us work on the bigger sections that we are responsible for. But to make sure we do it by utilizing the manpower we have and partnering with private groups.
I think we have a few questions here that we can have with maybe even a yes or a no answer. Firefighters and police need to be a part of the election process. Will you give them the right to speak?
Yes.
Yes. I think the firefighters have spoken very loudly.
So the police.
Okay. We need bathrooms at the AC Steer Park. They were promised in 2001. Where are they?
Well, I'll tell you where they are. Under my administration, with the support of your councilman, we did move in the larger portable units that you have right now, the larger, handicap accessible, and what have you. Thanks to your representative on the Citizens Bond Commission, you now have a provision within the bond proposal that we're looking to manage to work through, pass you all scrutiny as well as the council scrutiny, and ultimately put before the voters that includes funding for substantial improvements and renovations at AC Steer Park, which will include good quality bathrooms for this area.
Brian Woolley.
Thank you. I believe one way it can be addressed, Ken, I'm sure that was probably a Ken question. There are many contractors in town who are looking for ways to partner and to provide projects for the city. I think before we go ask to borrow some more money, we ought to go to the private sector first and see if they're willing to partner with us to help construct those bathrooms. And then if there's any money that still needs to be taken or utilized, then we can propose that in a bond issue. But let's go to the private sector. And maybe we want to help out, participate, willing to donate manpower and resources. That's where we should go first.
Okay, here's another question, probably a yes or no answer. Shreveport has captured the attention of many around the world with Community Renewal International. Do you support this organization?
Yes, I do. In fact, we kicked off this year's Shreveport Bossier Night Out at the Queensboro Friendship House. We also recently worked with Community Renewal International to renegotiate their debt on the petroleum building downtown, so that they would be able to free up additional operating expenses so that Mac and his board and his workers could go out and pursue better, larger partnerships with the Clinton Global Initiative, with the folks over at TCU, and the other partners that they're developing around the country. So it's an effort that we have supported. We think it's a great part of what we're accomplishing here in Shreveport. The thing that I'm most proud of is that even before becoming mayor, I went and worked in the construction of the houses that are being built over in Allendale right now, and we've done even more of those with them since we've been mayor.
Thank you. The organization has been a great asset to this community. I've always been in full support of it, and as the next mayor, we'll continue to do so.
Question, okay. Because I think Cynthia is here tonight, so she asked this question. Do you feel the addition of a dog park in Shreveport would be taking away from or adding to our park system?
Actually, a dog park, is that what you said? A dog park, Cynthia? would be a great asset to our community. Once again, along the same lines of partnering with contractors and other people in the private sector to build bathrooms for AC's Deer Park. I know there are many folks who would love to participate to construct that dog park. I know you and I have talked about that. So once again, let's go to the private sector first. Let's ask them if they can participate. And there are many dog lovers that I think would be willing to help out. I actually have seen parks built, a public park per se, with private money because they took the time to ask people, donate money, donate the time, the resources. Cedric, go ahead.
The answer is yes. In fact, we have obviously been working with Cynthia Keys and others on this idea for some time. We've actually also reached out and had dialogue with the folks from Raising Cane's who have taken a great role in helping facilitate the development of dog parks down in the Baton Rouge area. We think it's a great idea. We're looking forward to seeing it come to its fruition in the next term.
One more question on the renters code, but I want them on the record. They support a dog park. Do y'all support a cat house?
I'm the married one.
I think we're going to get a no comment on that one, Ken. Okay, the final question, and this may become a controversial issue, may already be. The new renters code, there are employees of the city that believe the new proposed code is not needed, but instead the existing code's tweaked a bit to allow better enforcement. Have you talked to your property standards manager regarding changes to existing codes? What is your position regarding this proposed code? And we start with, I can't remember. Brian, you want
I'll take it. I am totally opposed to a renter's code. I made that quite clear on the council. I do not think government should be interfering into the private sector and telling good landlords how to run their facilities or their homes or their apartments or whatever they may have, their townhomes. Okay? I know there are a few slumlords in Shreveport, and there are ways right now, legally, on the books, that we can address those issues. But I have 3 beautiful children, and I'm not going to punish 2 because one doesn't act right. So I'm not going to punish the 98% or 99.5% of the landlords in Shreveport because a couple of guys can't get their act together. There are ways to deal with them. We should deal with them in those ways and let everyone else continue to serve this community like they do. Thank you. Cedric Glover.
We have a problem with some of our renters in Shreveport, and we need to make sure that we address those individuals. Conversely, we have a problem with some of our landlords, and we need to make sure that we address those individuals. If we can do that under the existing ordinances, then I'm all for that. If we need some form of a limited renters code in order to be able to ensure that you end up with good tenants, but you also end up eliminating some of the conditions that people end up living in the city, then I'm also for that. So is there a possibility of being able to achieve balance? Yes, there is. So just as we need effective enforcement of our property standards, so that when you all end up with issues here in neighborhoods like Broadmoor and others across the city, and you want the city to be empowered to come in and address those, we need to also be able to do so with some aspects of our rental community.
Okay, that concludes our questions. Good questions. Let's give them a round of applause for some questions. And that applause is for you all too, because you all did ask some very good questions.
Now we're at the 2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Okay. No first downs left. No timeouts left. Okay. Let's see. It went first, so closing statement from Brian Moore.
Thank you, Lynn. Once again, thank you to everyone who came tonight to come out on your personal time. I appreciate it. I want to thank the BNA Association for allowing us to come. Leadership. Strong, effective leadership. My record reflects it. I have watched your money carefully. I've called it out when it has been wasted. And I've supported those things that have actually brought money to Shreveport. I have been the fiscal watchdog. I've been the business-minded leader. I've supported business all over the city that's been fair to every community. I'm the man who has crossed every barrier in this city. I've crossed every barrier in this city. I've reached out to every single person, black, white, young, old, rich, and poor. We all have an equal place here in Shreveport. You all should be represented effectively and equally. I have done it as a councilman. I will do it as your next mayor. I'll make sure that the corruption that we've seen under this current administration, under Mr. Glover, will not continue. The $1.7 million at the airport, those types of things will no longer happen here in Shreveport. Not paying our police officers what they deserve when they get shot in the face will no longer happen here in Shreveport. Firemen who risk their lives will get the raise they deserve because they go into burning buildings when everybody else is running out. That will no longer be in Shreveport. We will give them what they deserve. And what you deserve is a leadership or a city hall and a mayor's office that can answer the phone, respond to emails, do it in a timely, efficient manner like you deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brian Woolley. I'm ballot number 108, and I would appreciate your vote November 2nd. Thank you.
I want to first of all start by thanking Ken and all of the rest of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association again for having this forum. I also want to thank all of you for having given me the privilege over the last 4 years to serve as your mayor. It's been a great honor. I'm also here tonight asking for your support again for the same reason I did 4 years ago, and that is because the city of Shreveport, at this junction in its history, and I believe well into the future, needs to elect the kind of leader who has the ability to be able to represent and serve the entirety of the city of Shreveport, all of Shreveport, not give it lip service, but actually be able to do it and show it. Why? Because I've been to Broadmoor Neighborhood Association meetings when there have not been mayoral forums or any other type of forums. I've been to every community and group across this city, reaching out, working together, helping to bring this city together so that we can focus on the common ground that we share, recognize the common opportunity that we have, and work towards making Shreveport a better, safer, and greater city. We're making progress towards that. As was mentioned, a record number of police officers right now here in the city of Shreveport. How do we do it? We did it using the very same tactics and measures that Sheriff Steve Prater used when he was chief of the Shreveport Police Department, the COPS program. That's how we managed to be able to get those same 43 additional police officers here in the city of Shreveport. When I was a member of the city council back in the 1990s, we only had about 400 police officers. The way in which we ended up increasing those numbers up to the 578 that we have today was by working in partnership with other entities around the country to be able to bring the resources to Shreveport to allow us to be able to address our problems. In 1993, we had 93 homicides. Last year, we had 31. This year, we've had 24. We're working towards making it safer. We've even taken 11 police positions that were normally people behind the desk. We civilianized those positions, taken those 11 officers, put them on the street. So now you have a total of 54 more police officers serving you. The books are balanced, our bond rating is sound, and we're moving towards a better and brighter future. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much. Before they leave, the final question is, if elected, do you want a second term in 2014? Yes. If elected, do you want to run for more office in 2014?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No. Can I say why?
We have another forum. Now, these two candidates are the two, as the mayor and the councilman are, who are the remaining candidates.